Hi, and welcome to the Small Business Innovation Research Small Business Technology Transfer Program. This is for phase 1 for FY24. And this is the RFA announcement and technical assistance webinar. And I'm Melinda Kaufman. I am the program coordinator for SBIR-STTR for USDA. And I will be starting off these slides. We're going to just wait just a few seconds to make sure everybody can join. In the meantime, I just want to remind you that if you have questions as we go through this webinar, please put them in the Q&A. So that's should be down at the bottom of your screen, the question and answer. You put them in there and we'll address them after we get through the slides. So we'll just collect them as we go around. So, as I said, this is the SBIR-STTR program. It's USDA and it is part of the National Institute of Food and Agriculture. We are housed there. Next slide, please.
Do you want to wait just a little bit, Melinda, because people are still joining?
The attendees number has plateaued.
Okay, thank you. Sure.
Oh, there it goes up again.
So just a little bit about our meeting logistics. So this, you should know this webinar is being recorded. And so please, if you could make sure that your microphone is muted at all times, that would really be helpful. And it would be helpful for the recording. If you're having difficulty with Zoom, this hopefully you can see this. There's a number for Zoom tech support and it's option 2. And throughout the presentation, again, please type your questions in that question and answer box, and then we will have time at the end to get to those. And then in probably about a week or so, there'll be slides and recording available at this website. This is where you registered for the webinar. So those will be available to you in the next 1 or 2 weeks. Thank you. This is the USDA's non-discrimination statement, and we take it very seriously. This will be in the slides that will be available to you, and we encourage you to take a look at it and read it. I'm just going to summarize it very quickly so we can move on with some other information, but I do want you to know that this is this non-discrimination statement is taken very seriously at USDA. So USDA is an equal opportunity provider, employer, and lender. Additional details are included on this slide, and a link to the USDA's non-discrimination statement, 508 compliance, and filing discrimination complaints. We encourage audience members to reference this slide if they have any questions or concerns. And this is our staff for USDA SBIR-STTR. Dr. Tim Connor is the division director, and he oversees the SBIR-STTR program. And I'm Melinda Kaufman. I'm the program coordinator. David Songstad is here. He is our national program leader for SBIR and STTR. Tammy Neville is one of our program specialists, and Dr. Narun Nahar is another program specialist. And these are some of the topics we're going to be covering. We're going to give you an overview of the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, otherwise known as NIFA, an overview of the program, meaning the SBIR-STTR program. We're going to talk about the request for application details and the deadline application documents that will also be needed, the proposal evaluation process, and additional information and resources. This is the NIFA overview. So what does NIFA do? The National Institute of Food and Agriculture. It it is the extramural science funded agency within the USDA's research, education, and economics mission area. So that is why SBIR is located in NIFA, because it fits right into that. So NIFA invests and supports initiatives that ensure long-term viability of agriculture. And NIFA provides funding and strategic leadership for programs that ensure groundbreaking discoveries. That's what we're looking for in SBIR. STTR is groundbreaking discoveries in agriculture-related sciences and technologies. And that those scientific discoveries and technologies can eventually reach the people that can put them into practice. These are some of the topics covered by the NIFA programs. As you can see here, it has a lot of things you would expect, such as plants and animals, but we also deal with food security. We also deal with international. We have advanced technologies. We have, we're a lot more than what a lot of people would think. Business and economy, that's also very much part of SBIR and STTR. This begins the overview of the SBIR and STTR programs. The purpose and priorities. So SBIR, STTR is, the intention is to support scientific excellence and technological innovation. And that is done through the investment of our federal dollars to build a strong national economy by stimulating innovation in the private sector or small businesses. So we want to do threefold things. Is to strengthen the role of small business in meeting federal research and development needs. And then we also want to increase the commercialization application of these research grants, the innovations, the technical and scientific innovations. So we want those to actually help them to actually get into the market. And very importantly, we want to foster and encourage participation by historically underserved, women-owned, and minority-owned small businesses. And STTR is new for us. It was new for us in FY23, but the objective is to stimulate formal cooperative partnerships for ideas and technologies between small businesses and small nonprofit research institutions, which is usually universities and federal labs. The applicant eligibility, so it does have to be a small business, and we often refer to that as small business concern, or SBC is the acronym, through registration with the SBA for research and development purposes at the time of selection. So here are three things to keep in mind. For a for-profit company, you have to be operating in the US, and the research that you are proposing must be done in the US. And you have to be more than 50% owned and controlled by a US citizen or a permanent resident. And then a small business concern can have no more than 500 employees, and that includes affiliates. And then program eligibility. So as I mentioned, we have just added STTR in FY23. This will be our second year for STTR. So we made up this chart just to hopefully make it a little bit clearer. So the applicant in all cases for SBIR, STTR, or if you choose the option in your application to apply for both, then it has to be the small business who is applying. We had a little confusion around STTR with thinking that the university or the nonprofit research institution was the applicant, but it must be the small business in all cases. So for the nonprofit research institution or federally funded R&D center participation, for SBIR, that is an option. You may do that. For STTR, you must, and if you apply for both, you must. And then the percent of participation by that nonprofit research institution. For SBIR, it's 33% or less. For STTR, it's 30 to 60%. And for both, it is 30 to 33%. So that's the spot where that's the range where you can apply for both, that 30 to 33%. The primary employment of the principal investigator varies with these programs. So for SBIR, the principal investigator must be employed with the small business. For STTR, it can be either. You can be employed, the PI can be employed with the small business or the nonprofit research institution. And for both, the PI needs to be employed with the small business. So that's if you're applying for both. Then it has to be set up so the PI is employed with the small business. And then a formal cooperative agreement that outlines intellectual property rights. For SBIR, it is not required. For STTR, it is required. And for both, it is required. So the grant types are project types, which research, and grant types, which are standard.
All right, thank you, Melinda. Thank you for going through all the purposes and the eligibility. So we want to kind of go a little bit details and in terms of award size and duration. And you mentioned that those all our project types should be research. So what does it mean that we do have 10 topic areas? If you look at the RFA in part 1, number C, you will see that listed 10 topic areas. Only research project described in these topic areas will be considered for review. And also applicant must select the standard grant described on those 10 topic areas to be considered for review. Now, what is the phase 1 award size and duration? This is the phase 1 RFA technical webinar. So we would like to kind of disclose what is your options. So award duration varies between SBIR and STTR. If you choose for SBIR, it is duration 8 months. So usually it starts from July and then ended up in February following year. If you choose for STTR, that's a little bit more time in terms of award duration. So it is 12 months. The reason for that 12 months is PD need a little bit more time source of making cooperative development with other university. So we give a little bit time for STTR is 12 months. And it starts at the same time, July 1st, and it runs until June next year. In terms of award size, the award should be for research and development that we mentioned that everything has to be for research. And award size varies from $125,000 to $175,000. And why it does varies, if you look at RFA closely, we do have 10 topic areas, only 2 topic areas, 8.6 and 8.12, that is rural and community development and small and mid-sized farm. These are the 2 topic area could use off-the-shelf technology. And that is the reason little bit smaller amount of award size, $125K. All other 8 programs has to be deal with the new and novel technology. So that's $175K for the award size. Also, there is an option for TABA. TABA means technical and business assistance. And the TABA include $6,500. So that $6,500 is on top of your either $125,000 or $175,000 award. And the TABA actually include anything related to IP legal cost, marketing, financial review, consultation for funding strategy, activities related to manufacturing. You could claim those for TABA. Now, once you include the TABA, your award size becomes a little bigger. So for those 2 areas, 8.6 and 8.12, it becomes $131,500 once you include that TABA amount. And for other programs, the total amount becomes $181,500. How about cost sharing or matching? Folks who had applied for other USDA program, you probably have seen that cost sharing or matching is important. Not in case of SBIR and STTR program. There are no matching requirement is expected from you. And if you want to do that, it's not going to be under the review process as an evaluation criteria. So we do not really require any sorts of cost sharing or matching. Now let's start with the application details and documents. This part, Tammy, Neville, and I'll just take turn and sorts of a focus on some of the key areas that you need to be aware of. First of all, I would like to kind of show you that application details. First thing you need just for preparation is the RFA, request for application. And RFA is available online at our webpage, and this is the link given. All the slide decks with the active link will be incorporated in our website in a week, sometimes next week, check that one. Or if you go to the NEPA-USDA.gov, SBIR STTR, you will be able to see that RFA, it is already published online. You need to know that application deadline is September 19th, 5 p.m. Eastern time. And I'll just say that, please note that 5 p.m. we said 5:00 p.m. and we take it literally that way. If your application come at 5:01, this is not considered. We have to cut off a single point so that we are fair with all the application. So keep in mind, earlier submission is better. If you are doing at the last moment, you are risking your application not to go through the next review process. So 5:00 p.m. Eastern, September 19th, your application deadline. And all the application you have to submit through grants.gov. Any email application submission is not accepted in our program. Now, what are the total funding available for fiscal year 2024? For SBIR program is a bigger chunk. It's a $13 million available funding for fiscal year 24. If you think about the STTR, it's a little smaller. It's a $2.5 million. In terms of thinking, what is your program code? That's one of the components that you need to choose once you are applying. We do have 10 topic areas, and those 10 topic areas has individual program code. And those codes are listed here, either 8.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then it jumps up 8.12 and 8.13. Look at the RFA for details on your program code. What is the maximum funding per award? As I mentioned to you that we do have a little bit variation, but including the TABA amount, technical and business assistant amount, it becomes either $131,500 for 2 programs or $181,500 for other 8 priority areas. So I'm going to discuss a little bit about if you are applying multiple times, what are the changes happen from fiscal year 2023? Because there are some modification for this fiscal year 24 RFA. We're going to just compare what are the differences. First one is the project summary. Project summary restricted to 250 words. We recognize some of you have already used the template that we have at NEPA and used 250 words, but we did have some variation. Some other folks used one single page project summary. But from this year, we are restricting everyone has to use the template, and then your project summary should be only 250 words. If you are going beyond 250 words, you are risking your application to go to the review process. There is a new requirement starting from this year that we did not have in fiscal year 2023 that is called foreign relationship requirement. It's called SBIR STTR Extension Act of 2022. So under this Extension Act, all SBIR and STTR applications must disclose their foreign relationship as required by this act. Now, disclosure of foreign affiliation or relationship to foreign countries form must be used to disclose this relationship and is required for all applications. Does not matter, you choose SBIR, STTR, or both options. And there is a form available for disclosure of foreign relationship in the template that you can see in the slides. And please use that template to report it. Now, please note that even if you do not have any foreign relationships, you must complete this form to certify that such relationship do not exist. So this is really important. Failure to include this form may result in declination of your application without review at USDA NIFA. So really important information here. Now, the second option that little bit we did not have much clear benchmark documentation that we do have in fiscal year 24 is the new benchmark documentation. If you go to page 40, you will see that there are two attachments needed. One is phase 1 to phase 2 transition rate benchmark, and number 2 is commercialization rate benchmark. So if someone is very successful and have applied multiple award from USDA, SBIR, STTR, or any other agency, SBIR, STTR, this benchmark is basically targeting them. One example, any SBC that has received at least 20 phase 1 awards, regardless of the awarding agency in last 5 years, so from fiscal year 2019 to 2023, must have received a minimum of 5 phase 2 awards, meaning 25 conversion rate we want. So those has to be actually documented and submitted as a one PDF format. So please look closely for those benchmark documentation on page 45. So those I discussed a little bit what is new, but including new or old, let's kind of talk about the key documentation once you are submitting your application. So the key components for your applications are listed on the left side, project summary or objective. This is the key one. So the project summary must show how the project goals align with the project goal of SBIR STTR. So this project summary include a description of the problem or opportunity, what is the project objectives, and a description of your effort. Also, project summary must include a paragraph or couple sentences discussing the anticipated results and potential application of the proposed research. And then it comes to project narrative. The project narrative must include list of items from A to I that Tammy Neville will discuss in following slide. So that would be important to include all those criteria she will discuss. But keep in mind that project narrative always need to kind of a responsive to USDA NIFA SBIR STTR program priorities, prior USDA support, identification and significance of your problem or opportunity, any source of background or rationale, relationship with the research or research and development, your technical objectives, work plan, related research and development, and post-application. All those goes there. Then it comes bibliography and cited reference, because project narrative include the rationale or background information. So you have checked what other works has been done to write those narratives. So the bibliography or cited reference is one of the required component. You could include at the end of the project narrative, or you can include as a separate page in the appendices either. Any way you kind of feel to. Next goes to budget and justification. This is really important and a key document, because if you do have extra budget beyond what is within our limit for this RFA, then your application will not go to the next review process. So your budget and budget justification is a key document. And then the last one, disclosure of foreign relationship form that I mentioned, that this is a new requirement under SBIR STTR Act, and this is something new that our folks did not have last year. So look at that one, and that considered as a key documents. Now, in terms of what other documents you need, NIFA grant application guide is something we always encourage you to look at once you are applying. So the RFA is the first thing you need to look, and then once you are ready to apply, look at the NIFA grants application guide. Grants application guide has all the forms and template that kind of tell you how to fill out those forms. So please look at the grants application guide, and that gives you how to fill out the profile requirement, details about the biographical sketch, or suggested the supported template. So all the biographical sketches must indicate the employment or history of each PD and co-PD for the last 10 years. And the PD and co-PD must include biographical sketch and their conflict of interest and current and pending supports. All those current and pending support or conflict of interest templates also can be found in the NEPA grants application guide. One of the things I want to mention, current and pending support, sometimes someone say, hey, I'm a new applicant, I don't have any pending. Actually, whatever you are applying to USDA NEPA phase 1, that is your pending. So at least put that one as a list of your pending support. It has to be filled out. You cannot just leave it blank. The current one, whatever you are applying, that considered as a pending if you did not have anything before. I mentioned about technical and business assistant request. If you have any TABA request, please put that in your budget and justify that as well. Facilities and other resources in that section describe the types, location, and the availability of instrumentation and physical facility to carry out the work that you propose. For your equipment and documentation, is the same process. What are the equipment you are going to use, where it is available, just list those as a documentation. And then also letters of support, if applicable, if your proposed technology has really link with the community, and that some of other industry really want to support your proposal, include those letters of support to make your documents really strong. So I'm going to go back and hand it over to Ms. Tammy Neville to discuss more about the individual component that's really important. Tammy, to you.
Thank you, Narun. We're going to start by covering the project summary. As Narun indicated earlier, the project summary format has changed for the fiscal year 2025 or 2024 application. This is there is a template available at the website indicated on this slide, using that template, you should work to submit only 250 words or less for your project summary. Please use 12-point Times New Roman font. And some of the things that you're going to want to do in those 250 words is show how the project goals are aligning with the project goals of the SBIR STTR program. You're going to want to highlight the objectives of your project and your technical objectives as you break those out. Please do not include any potentially proprietary information in your project summary, because there is a possibility that that project summary may be shared publicly. So make sure that if there's anything in there, you put more general information. Next slide, please. Moving into the project narrative. Again, this year, this is the second year for this requirement. We'll have a 17-page limit with 1.5 line spacing. Please note that is not single spacing. If you want to use double space line spacing, that's okay, but you cannot submit a proposal with single spacing. You should use at least 1-inch margins and 12-point Times New Roman font. If you have tables or figures, you can use 11-point font in those areas only. We are strictly enforcing these regulations simply in order to ensure fairness across the entire applicant pool, so that everybody has the same amount of space to write the same amount of information for the panel to review. So as I said, they're going to be strictly enforced. So therefore, any applications that exceed the 17-page limit will be returned without panel review. There is one exception to that 17-page limit, and that is if you have a resubmission from a prior application year. That resubmission allows you one additional page formatted in the same 1-inch margins, 1.5 line spacing, 12-point Times New Roman. So then you will actually have an 18-page limit, because that one extra page does not count towards the 17-page limit. Now, that being said, I'm going to recommend that if you do have a resubmission, Within that first paragraph of that response to previous review, you include your prior topic area and proposal number so that we are more able to track those resubmissions. Next slide. Narun had mentioned that there were details regarding what should be included in the project narrative. The RFA on pages 39 and 40 address all of these criteria that should be included in the project narrative, and they provide additional descriptions of each of these areas. Basically, we're providing you an outline for you to follow in order to fill out your project narrative. So please take time to look at that section of the RFA to build your application. Next slide, please. We will only be accepting electronic submissions. So you have to use the grants.gov portal in order to submit your application. NIFA does have a grants application guide with the website on this slide that is an excellent resource for navigating the individual forms within the overall application packet. There will be portions of each form that require you to add an attachment to that form. All of those attachments must be submitted as a PDF. That means you cannot upload a Word document or an Excel document or any other format if you expect us to be able to open it. We are literally unable to open any documents that are not submitted as a PDF. Therefore, they cannot be reviewed and your application will be returned without review. Next slide. As you're getting ready to submit your application, there are key instructions on page 37 of the RFA that will help guide you through a submission check. These are also, there are references in this submission check that direct you back to that grant application guide again. Some of the highlights are to make sure your attachments, as I said, are in PDF. Check to make sure that all of your files are submitted in the correct format. Follow your submission instructions. Make sure you provide an accurate email address in all portions of the SF 424. That's going to come into our system, and that's how we're going to be able to communicate with you once your application is received and is being processed by NIFA. If you have any questions, can you please go back? If you have any questions, we encourage you with the grants.gov platform. We request that you reach out to the grants.gov help desk. We do not have access to grants.gov. We are not experts in grant.gov. So we want you to reach out to those experts, reach out to that help desk. If you haven't heard from NIFA within 30 days of the application deadline, please let us know at that time, not 6 months later, within 30 days, please. Thank you. I will turn it over to Dr. Songstead now to continue with the evaluation process.
Okay, I'll pick it up now. I've looked at the participants in this webinar, and I recognize several names of individuals I've already talked with, so welcome back. So let's go through some of the screening process. You know, you've followed the RFA, you've submitted your application. What happens next? So first of all, you've confirmed that you are a small business concern. You followed the criteria that has already been laid out. The application, you met the, followed the RFA, because for those individuals that don't, it's return to sender, because the first screen is an administrative screen to make sure that the RFA was followed. So make sure you follow that and stay within the proposed budget. For those, you know, every once in a while, someone asks for more money than what the ceiling is. That's also return to sender. So make sure you are at or below the ceiling amount for your topic area. And make sure that you are applying for one of the 10 topic areas. So through SBIR, we fund research projects. And if there's an application that doesn't involve any research, it won't be considered. And applications need to contain the project plan and all the objectives that cover the scientific and technical aspects, as well as the market opportunity. So make sure you have that covered as well. And again, just like what Tammy mentioned, contact us if you haven't heard from us within 30 days after the application deadline. Next slide. So the criteria, there's 6 different criteria. The 2 that are in red are the ones that we're going to emphasize the most. So the phase 1 science and technical feasibility, your science plan, that's the most important part to really convey so that the panel reviewers understand the science and the research that you plan to conduct. And they also want to know the market potential. So if you can describe, what the market is about, some of the pain points in the market, and how your technology can help reduce those pain points would be important. And of course, the importance of the problem, the investigator and resource qualifications, essentially the team that you've assembled within your small business. So based on your CV and the CV of those in your team, this is how this is being evaluated. The budget, again, is considered. And if there's any duplication, that's considered too. At the very bottom of this slide, we talk about a CRADA, which is a cooperative research and development agreement. So it's an opportunity for entrepreneurs to work with a federal researcher. If you're interested in that, see the contact information at the bottom. That email address, arp@usda.gov, will take you directly to the Technology Transfer Office. And the website that's available is also through the Office of Technology Transfer, and it lists the available technologies. So you could peruse that and determine if there's something that aligns with your SBIR phase 1 objectives, and maybe you could have a CRADA too. So let's go to the next slide. The evaluation process. So all the applications have come in. They've been vetted for the administrative review. Those that go forward that are all complete and follow the RFA will receive 3 technical reviews. And so across the 10 topic areas, there will be 10 different panels reviewing the applications for the 10 different topic areas. So there'll be a group of people that will compose a panel, of which 3 of them have been assigned your application if you follow through and make an application. And these reviewers are vetted so that there's no conflict of interest. And the reviewers will do this individually, where they'll go through and read the application, and they'll come up with their individual assessment of the strengths and the weaknesses. And then we will convene as a virtual panel where all the panelists get together. And then when each application comes up, those 3 reviewers will discuss it at that forum and talk about the strengths and the weaknesses and come up with a consensus. And then it will be opened up for questions from the other panel members to further the discussion. And then at the end of the panel, there'll be a ranking going from the highest ranked all the way further down. And this is how the panel review process is conducted. And so it's based on the panel reviewers who come from academia, the private sector, and from government. And of course, I already mentioned that the conflict of interest screen is done so that the reviewers are totally unbiased. Next slide. So the timeline, the RFA was published in July. We've already heard that the deadline is September 19th at 5 p.m. Eastern. We give 59 seconds of grace. 59 seconds. So keep that in the back of your mind. So once that 60 seconds occurs, it's 5:01 and it's too late. So 59 seconds of grace. And then panels will convene between November and January, and we will make the award notifications shortly after the panels have made their recommendations. And then the awards start date, as Nern and Tammy had mentioned earlier, it will be in July of next year. And so go to the next slide. So additional information, next slide. If you are interested in seeing past awards or your award after it's made public, you can go through the CRIS site that's available online as shown here, or you can actually, or the link that's at the bottom of the slide as well. And so it's all publicly available for those applicants that receive awards. Next slide. And upcoming events, you can go to the NIFA USDA events calendar, and you can also upcoming requests for the RFA release calendar as well. So you can register on those sites as well. Other grant resources, the different funding opportunities, the flow chart, resources, our policy, the indirect costs that a lot of people ask about. You can go right there to learn more about it. A guide for submitting through grants.gov is available, and the award information through the CRIS site we just talked about. Next. If you have questions, we have the sbir@usda.gov email address that comes to our team. And that's the best email to use if you have any questions after this webinar. And let's go to the last slide. So I want to thank you for your time. And we do have, I can see 7 questions now in the Q&A. So either Nern or Tammy, do you want to check out the questions for us?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Dave. So there are a couple questions. One of the question was, is there a page limit of the market opportunity, or how many pages it should be? So I'm going to answer this question. There is no page limit for market opportunity for phase 1. For phase 2 commercialization, we do have that page limit, but for phase 1, there is no specific page limit for your market opportunity, but that should be described in your project narrative. So it has to be good amount to make it, but keep in mind that 17 pages that include that market opportunity. So that's depend on the project, what you're going to proposing and how much market opportunity you want to describe. There is no set page limits for this one. Okay, there is one question I could ask for Dave. It sounds like the SBIR phase 1 will fund proof of concept laboratory work, not pilot production or prototyping, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's proof of concept. So when you apply for phase 1, you need to describe the experiments that are the proof of concept for what you want to show that has merit, to show the evidence based on the science that there's something there. When you talk about a pilot plant, that sounds more like something for phase 2 or even beyond. So just keep in mind, phase 1 is for proof of concept.
Thank you, Dave. I'm going to ask this question to Tammy Neville. I saw from the solicitation the spacing must be 1.5 line spacing. Is it right? It will significantly reduce the contents can be fitted. Tammy?
I thought I kind of addressed this during my section of the presentation, but yes, that is correct. You need to have your line spacing set at 1.5, not single. Do not use single line spacing. And this is just to ensure fairness to all applicants, because some might submit double spacing and single spacing, and so we chose the in-between road of 1.5. So please, we realize that it might decrease the amount of space you have to work with versus single spacing, but it's just to ensure fairness. So please follow what's stated in the RFA.
And if I could chime in, write your application concisely and succinctly.
All right, thank you, Tammy and Dave both. The next question, I think Melinda already answered, but I will ask that question so other people knows about this. It was said that at least 50% of the company had to be owned by US citizen or permanent resident. Is 50% not enough? In my opinion, we are two partners with 50-50 share.
So for the company owners for more than 50% actually has to be owned by a US citizen. So it has to be a little over 50%, somewhere in there. So it's not just 50%. And I'm sorry if we didn't make that clear.
Thank you, Melinda. All right, I'm gonna ask that question, probably came a couple times, either Tammy or Dave both can answer that. Are SBIR and STTR reviewed separately? Will submit to both increase the chance to be funded?
Sure, I can answer that. These programs with the new addition of STTR, we are running the evaluation of those proposals concurrent with SBIR within the same exact panel as the SBIR proposals. And there is no advantage to one program or the other. It's really important that you guys take a look at your company, your research, and where it's best going to fit for you to decide which program to apply to.
I would just add to that what Tammy said is absolutely correct. It's best to look at what your project is, what are the needs of your project, what are, how is the research best going to be performed, and then decide whether you're best for SBIR, STTR, or if you actually will fit in both. So I think that is really important, but I will also add that if you do fit into both, you are applying to two different programs. So that could possibly increase your chances of award.
Thank you, Melinda. I think that I'm going to ask another question and then I will answer that one because I think that is important for all our prospective applicants. Who should I contact if I want to topic area related guidance? So for 10-hour topic area, we do have 10 national program leaders, and you will get the contact information of all our topic area national program leader in the RFA. So you could actually email to them, write down 2 paragraphs of your objectives, what you are planning, what you are proposing, and then ask for 20 minutes consultation time. Our national program leaders are really good to meet with our prospective applicants and sort of look for and guide to the questions you have. So I'll encourage you, write down to your specific national program leader if you want to consult and want their guidance, and make that 20 minutes consultation appointment.
Could I interject something? Going back to SBIR and STTR, also keep in mind that STTR is a much smaller program than SBIR. So that's just something I want you to be cognizant of.
All right, I'm gonna give this question to Tammy so other people also know. Can you share about number of topics or proposal an SBC can submit? And what is the limit? How many proposals can be funded for a single SBC?
We set in the RFA that there is a limit of 2 submissions per small business. They can be to 2 different topic areas, but you cannot submit a duplicate proposal to 2 different topic areas. You must have 2 distinctly different topic or proposals to apply to the 2 different topic areas.
All right, thank you, Tammy.
And I'll
That is
just
very-
add to what Tammy says is absolutely correct, but the other thing to keep in mind is if you have 2 distinct proposals and you apply them to the same topic area, you are competing against yourself. So that's just something else to keep in mind.
Good point. Good point, Melinda. A lot of people ask, are those slide decks available for downloaded? Thank you, Tammy. I see that you have included a link in our website. All the slide decks and recorded webinar will be available in our website. Tammy already posted in the chat. Please save the link. Sometimes next week, everything should be available.
I'd like to hop back in on that duplicate submission. There's somebody that just posted a question about applying to USDA and NSF concurrently or in parallel. And you can submit a similar application to NSF, but you cannot accept federal funding for duplicative efforts. And so if you have proposals that are very similar or perhaps duplicative that you are submitting to more than one federal agency, if you're recommended for funding from both agencies, you will have to decline funding from one of those two agencies. So you can apply in tandem, but you cannot accept duplicative funding. I hope
Yes,
that's
I would,
clear.
I'll just add that Tammy's absolutely correct about that. And so we need to give you a warning. You know, it is a way to approach it if you have, because the topic areas across SBIR programs, across the federal government, sometimes have quite a bit of overlap. So you could submit the same proposal in say FY24 to several different agencies if they have the topic areas that match your project, but you must be very careful. Just as Tammy said, you must be very careful that if you are offered more than one award from across the federal government, you must only accept one, because it is a really a lot of trouble if you accept more than one.
And you need to add upon that, you need to disclose in your application. If you
Yes.
submitted to NSF, you need to disclose that. And likewise with NSF, you need to disclose you submitted to USDA.
And that would perfect place to disclose that information would be on your current and pending form. I would like, there's a question, and we've seen several questions come through with some confusion about applying to both SBIR and STTR. And asking if it's 2 applications or 1 application or how this occurs. And the mechanism for declaring that you want to apply to both programs is through a form in the application packet titled the SBIR STTR information form. On that form, there's an option. There's a box. It says check mark this box if you're applying for SBIR, check mark this box if you're applying for STTR, or check mark the 3rd box if you're applying to both. So you will submit 1 application, and that 1 application you will mark both, and that will signify to us that you are applying to both programs. And then we can, after the evaluations are complete, it depends on where your proposal will fall within the funding recommendations. If you fall within the lines for funding recommendation, then we will have that option to fund your proposal through either funding mechanism, either SBIR or STTR.
Thank you, Tammy. That helps.
But
I
to be
think this
really,
is a
really
good-
clear, it's not both.
No,
So
it's
you can
really
apply for-
either.
You can apply for SBIR and STTR together, but there's only one award.
By
Thank
by
you.
marking both, as Melinda likes to say, that often is translated to either, not both in addition.
Thank you. I think that's a really important one to ponder and clarify a little more. One of the quick question I want to clarify a little more, I saw Melinda answer already, saying that qualification of PI. So to be honest, we do not require any sorts of formal degree for our PIs. You do not need a bachelor degree, master's degree, or PhD to apply for SBIR STTR program. As Melinda mentions that we encourage our producers even apply with the technology as long as you pair up with a group of people who are really good with their technology and you have really good idea, bright idea, and keep a good team to sort of how you're gonna run those objectives and project planning. That should be good. PI does not have to be with certain degrees. Please feel free to apply in our program with your brightest ideas.
Thank you, Narun. That's a very important point. So if you feel like you are the next Steve Jobs or Bill Gates of agricultural innovation, and you dropped out of college or you didn't go to college and you built your innovation and designed it in your barn or your garage, we're interested. So don't hesitate.
All right, thank you. So another quick question, Tammy, if you'd be good one to answer. Is it common for phase 1 recipient to apply for phase 2? Do we have to completely done with our phase 1 before we apply for phase 2?
That's a good question. You can be in a no cost extension status when you apply for phase 2 funding. The awards are set up so that if you receive phase 1 funding, your award will start on July 1st and your period of performance will end February 28th. Typically, the phase 2 solicitation closes in March. And so if you are in a no cost extension and you apply in March, that's okay. You can apply in that status. But if you are selected or recommended for funding, you will need to completely close out your phase 1 award prior to receiving that phase 2 funding. So that really interprets to that you will have about 30 to 60 days, more or less, to completely close out that phase 1 award after you are notified of the recommendation notice.
And just to add to that, there oftentimes for phase 2, you only get one opportunity to apply. So we want you to make it your best application. So if you believe it would behoove you to wait a cycle and apply the following March, then that is more than understood and more than welcome, and many people do that.
All right, thank you. Melinda, if you could also answer how DEIA be considered for reviewing and funding? Diversity, equity.
Yes. DEIA is very important to the USDA SBIR program, and we do a great deal of outreach. We are trying to increase the number of applicants, therefore the number of awardees, and we have done that the last 2 years. We do not have any official preference, unfortunately, for DEIA. The only preference is really given is if you have a Cooperative Research and Development Agreement, a CRADA. And there's also a manufacturing preference, which is somewhat rare. But even though we don't have, that is not something we get to decide if there's a preference for any DEIA, but we welcome them. We encourage you. We really want diversity within our awardees. So please apply.
Thank you, Melinda. I think we do have a couple more questions that we'd like to answer, but we do not have time.
I need to go.
It's at 2
Yeah.
p.m. So we're gonna close our webinar. But keep in mind that we will share all those question and answer in the coming template that we will be posting. So your question will be answered there as well. So thank you for attending the webinar today. If you do have any question, please feel free to email us to sbir@usda.gov.
Okay.
Thank you and good luck with your application. Bye-bye.